afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Katerina, for introduction. Truly appreciate it. Welcome to our discussion today on veteran reintegration. Today's conversation is about more than transition, it's about development and renewal. We'll explore how Ukraine can take experience of military service and turn into a foundation for rebuilding the nation. By bringing together lessons from international partners, national institutions, and veterans themselves, we hope to shape a reintegration system that fuels economical growth, innovation, and resilience for the future. Before we begin our discussion today, let us honor the brave men and women of Ukraine who have given their lives in defense of their homeland and in defense of freedom itself. I invite everyone to pause for a moment of silence. Thank you so much. Before we begin our discussion today, let us honor the brave men. We would like to also take this opportunity to honor all the veterans present here with us today. Your courage, sacrifice, and service to your country inspired us all. Thank you so much. Thank you, dear veterans. It is my honor to introduce today the keynote speaker, Major General Boris Kremenetsky, Defense Attaché of Ukraine to the United States and combat veteran. For the past 5 years, General Kremenetsky has served here in Washington, D.C., playing a vital role in strengthening defense cooperation, coordinating the U.S. allies, and securing continued support for Ukraine during the time of war. A career officer of the Ukrainian Air Force with more than 40 years of service, he brings deep experience in command, operation, and international engagement. His education includes the Kharkiv Air Force Engineer Academy, U.S. Air War College, and Harvard Kennedy School National Security Program, blending technical expertise with a strategic vision. He has represented Ukraine at NATO headquarters, advised its mission to the European Union, and led the Joint Ceasefire Coordination Center during a Russian invasion on a line of contact from 2015 to 2016. Please join me in warmly welcoming a distinguished officer, a steadfast diplomat, and one of the Ukraine's most respected defense leader, Major General Boris Kremenetsky.
This is, thank you very much. It's too big introduction for my modest person. It's a great pleasure and honor to be here and to start panel about which devote to veterans affairs, and how in future we can work in order to bring veterans back to the society. First of all, I'd like to thank organizers and thank people of Ukraine Foundation. Also, I'd like taking this opportunity to thank the government of the United States for support of Ukraine. Whatever we read in media, it's one side. A lot is going on behind closed doors, and I should say that support of the United States to Ukraine and to Ukrainian military never stopped, and we continue to work together. We also enjoy bipartisan support in UAS Congress, and thank you very much for representatives from Congress who are here in this room. War is ongoing on, and only this night we have, as usual, every night strikes. Especially now they focused on energy infrastructure. They want to bring our people to darkness or to froze us, but it's not going to happen. We still holding the line, both on the front line. Thank you. This applause goes to Ukrainian soldiers, not to me. And but Of course, despite we are talking about innovations, unmanned systems, electronic warfare, artificial intelligence, still soldier and veteran is in the center, should be in the center of our attention. Whatever technology is coming, but a person and soldier is still in the center. Therefore, we have to take care of soldiers, of our veterans, and this is not only government, should be joint government and civil society venture, and we have huge examples in the United States, in the United Kingdom, a lot of organizations which help veterans not only to rehabilitate, but to come back to society. And I also really happy to see some representatives here as well. And we are working jointly. And it's fair to say that in Ukraine, all population now is suffering from PTSD. We have hundreds of thousands of veterans. And we do appreciate especially American people who are and charities who are bringing our veterans to the United States for treatment, for prosthetics, and we very grateful for this. But this is not enough. This is not enough. We should work together, and there are also good examples to bring them to business, to create business especially for veterans. We are working also with some Danish companies on this, with the United States companies, and I believe that during this panel, which will be represented by people who really put a lot of efforts in veteran affairs, and we can do a lot in bringing back our veterans. I would like to say thank you, Tanya, for this panel, and thank you for your attention, and I hope we will enjoy the panel with these distinguished members. Thank you.
Dear General, thank you so much for the inspirational speech. It's really appreciated. Please allow me to introduce our panels. It is my privilege to introduce Mr. Mario Marquez, a distinguished Marine Corps combat veteran and a lifelong advocate for America's service members and veterans. Mario serves as Executive Director of Government Affairs at the American Legion, leading efforts to ensure every veteran receives the care and benefits they've earned. He works closely to the White House, Congress, and federal agencies to strengthen our nation's commitment to those who serve. A 31-year Marine Corps veteran, he culminates his career as a Sergeant Major of the 3rd Marine Expeditionary Force with 4 combat tours in Iraq, deployments across the Middle East, Asia, and Africa, and humanitarian relief missions in Japan and Kosovo. His decorations include 2 Legions of Merit and a Bronze Star. Please join me in welcoming a leader whose lifelong service to country and community truly embodies service before itself. Dear Mr. Marquez, would you say a few words about your organization? What have you been working on lately? Thank you.
Good afternoon. First of all, thank you for having me today. I'm really excited and honored and humbled to have an opportunity to be present and a part of this prestigious group of people here, so thank you. General Kremenetsky, I appreciate your relationship and the Embassy of Ukraine. We've been together with the Embassy of Ukraine from the day one of the main invasion happened. And also, Tanya, thank you for including me in a lot of the work that we've participated in over the last 3.5 years. The American Legion is America's largest veteran service organization. We are about 1.5 million strong, and when you include our family and associated organizations, we are just under 3 million strong. We spend a lot of time and effort involved in veterans affairs, national security, foreign policy, homeland security, and a full range of other efforts and issues that contribute to what I call the life cycle of veteran, from childhood all the way through military service into the veteran life and all the way into passing and support and efforts for their survivors. So I'm proud to be here today. I look forward to contributing to the panel, and I look forward to any questions and the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. It is a true honor to introduce Major General Volodymyr Gavrilov, a distinguished Ukrainian military leader, strategist, and diplomat with more than 3 decades of service to his nation. General Gavrilov has held senior roles in Ukraine's Ministry of Defense and commanded the Military Diplomatic Academy. He represented Ukraine as a defense attaché in the United States, the United Kingdom, and Romania, strengthening defense partnership and transatlantic cooperation. From February 22 to September 23, he served as a Deputy Minister of Defense, leading through some of the most critical months of Russia's full-scale invasion. He now directs the Veteran Dozen Foundation, promoting the rehabilitation and reintegration of wounded veterans through sports. In recognition of his exceptional service, he received the U.S. Legion of Merit for his contributions to regional stability and allied readiness. Please join me in welcoming a courageous officer, visionary leader, and steadfast advocate for Ukraine's veteran and sovereignty, Major General Volodymyr Gavrilov.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity to take part in this so important event. I am representing in this event rehabilitation programs for veterans of Ukrainian military. So I'm a director of the Veterans Dozen Foundation. We established this organization in 2019, but we started in 2016 with the key efforts on heavy injured and wounded soldiers, amputees, or those who lost their sight. And so we have great partners, Allied Forces Foundation here in the United States. We work together with American veterans and UK veterans. And we bring our team of amputees for sport events. And for example, this year, tomorrow, our team will run full marathon, Marine Corps marathon here in DC. So this time we bring not veterans, but the active duty military from Ukraine. We took them from the units from the front, and they will get the chance for mental recovery during this competition. And they're strong guys. And so I hope tomorrow we'll hear a lot about them with the encouragement, with just everything they need in this case. So I'm ready to contribute to our conversation here about the challenges and their solutions, how to address the veteran issue in this modern world of crisis.
Thanks so much, General. It is my honor to introduce Mr. Stuart Taylor, President and CEO of Allied Forces Foundation, the extraordinary US-UK nonprofit that since 2011 has united wounded, ill, and injured service members and their families from more than 16 allied nations. A 25-year combat veteran of the British Army, Stuart served alongside US and coalition partners in Afghanistan, where he saw firsthand the lasting impact of combat injuries, an experience that inspires his lifelong mission to help wounded warriors heal through challenge and connection. He also leads Stukan Solution Corps as a defense and security consultancy, building partnership between international firms in the United States. Please join me in welcoming a transatlantic leader whose vision strengthens our alliance and uplifts all who have served, Mr. Stuart Taylor.
Thank you very much. General, thank you for your leadership and support for Ukraine. It's a great honor to be here with you and the General and this lovely board of people who are going to speak today. The Allied Forces Foundation is as we mentioned, a US-UK charity, the only charity that supports our allied wounded warriors around the world. We've been helping Ukraine now for 12 years. It's a great honor to have the General side by side. And it's an even bigger honor to host them for the Warrior Yomp, which will be happening over Veterans Weekend, 8th and 9th, which is a 50-mile challenge around the nation's capital, walking side by side with our wounded warriors, our allied community. We'll be stopping at 4 embassies to include the Ukraine embassy, the Canadian Embassy, the British Embassy, and Denmark. We are hoping to have more people come out, support, cheer them on. But from Ukraine this year, we're going to have 10 wounded warriors from the front line coming to walk side by side their allies. And what's critical about this is to show solidarity here in the US with all the allied partners that we are with you 100%. Thank you very much for today.
It is my pleasure to introduce Dana Schmidt, the Executive Director of Mountain Seed Foundation. With over 20 years of experience leading programs for U.S. government mission around the world, including a war zone, Dana saw firsthand how conflict affects families. Together with her husband, Marine veteran Nathan Schmidt, she founded Mountain Seed Foundation to help veterans and their loved ones heal through nature, resilience, and community. She has been a driving force behind programs that bring entire families, mothers, children, and veterans together on journey to recovery and reintegration. Her work reminds us that healing from war is not only personal mission, but a family one. Please join me in welcoming Dana Schmidt.
Thank you so much, Tanya, and thank you to the panel here with me and to the General. Mountain Seed Foundation was founded in 2021 by a group of us who are military families, U.S. and European veterans who have all lived in Ukraine. Ukraine was one of our diplomatic tours and remains in our hearts. So when the full-scale invasion happened, we kicked into action a bit sooner than we had planned. And we've hosted families in Austria to mountain climbing. So we combine a program with therapy and outdoor adventure to sort of hide the therapeutic aspects of what we're doing. But ultimately, the entire family heals together, connects with foreign veteran families who have been there and done that and overcome and connected. So we share a common bond, we share this common experience, and we continue our relationship with all the families that have come through our program in a continuum of care. So we have helped, as of today, over 500 families through our programs, and we were fortunate enough last year to build mountain climbing inside Ukraine. So in the Transcarpathian region now, there is a mountain where we host families every month. It's much easier and more effective for us to bring them there, and we do year-round programs. So we are honored to have had the support of the Howard G. Buffett Foundation in order to build that infrastructure, and they just pledged 5 more years of support for our program there. So we really are grateful for the opportunity to bring U.S. and European veteran families to Ukraine to help the Ukrainian families heal.
Thank you so much, Dana. Thank you so much for amazing work. Thank you. All right, so this session of questions and answers, questions builds on a new research study from March of this year. It's called Transition from Military Service to Civilian Life by Human Rights Center, Princip. That compares international transition models of different countries and field interviews with over 600 Ukrainian service members. The study could be found online. If you didn't write it down, please find me. I'll once again repeat that research. The goal is today to assist Ukraine's design a veteran reintegration model that truly works, rooted in veterans' own stories, informed by international experience, and supported by institutions that can turn compassion into a long-term opportunity. Let's begin with the first question. There's a question for you, Mr. Marquez. So the research paper argues that veteran reintegration is not just a social issue, it's a national security priority. How can Ukraine's veteran reintegration system be structured to enhance both human resilience and national defense capacity, linking recovery, employment, and reserve readiness within one coordinated framework?
Okay, that's a great question. A lot of different topics in there. I think one of the things I've learned from both my time in the military and also now in the veteran community in government affairs and observing congressional policy, law, and all the different things that impact a nation's national security is how a country treats its veterans will determine how strong their national security is. That's the bottom line. That's my own personal assessment. When I look at the global situation, at nations that are having recruiting problems and issues surrounding bringing in people to military service, because for the most part, I think it is an honorable profession. Many of those countries may not have as strong of a Veterans Affairs support system. They may not have services and reintegration and transition programs that are as strong as they should be. And so when you don't have the focus of bringing military members back into society, you tend to have issues when it comes to trust in government, trust in the military, trust in the nation, and them not being able to support members of the military back into society. When it comes to transition specifically, I believe that transition programs must be captured in law, and they must have enforceability and accountability of both people in the military and military leaders, but also the individuals as they come out into society. We should be able to put systems and services into place that are easily actionable, by those veterans so that their transition is seamless, it's easy, it's less stressful, and it just makes their transition from military into civilian life as painless as possible. That involves a whole lot of different things, from economic to educational, to mental health, to medical health type of services and support. And if you can get all of those systems tied together into a smoothly operating transition process that benefits the veteran and their families, I think that on the back end of that integration of the veteran into society, you will have a more resilient, well-performing, easily integrated veteran back into the local society. I hope that makes sense. It's a lot of different topics going on in there. All of that, to me, contributes to a strong national security. Thank you.
Thank you so much. General Havrilov, would you like to add, please?
Ukraine is a very special situation because every family in Ukraine, they have veterans, either inside the family or next to them, to relatives or friends. So it's not the question of attitude to veterans in Ukraine. It's a question how to have an effective model of the integration back to the active life, not to even to society, but to the active life, to be self-sustained, to be more concentrated, to be having some perspectives, ideas, and desire to live. That is the question. And you can't buy any solution with the money. It's about the attitude, it's about emotions, it's about the psychological sympathy and empathy. It means that people, civil society, relatives, they have to integrate, to engage these people with the open heart, with the positive emotions, to give them, the veterans, especially wounded ones. I'm not talking about veterans who more or less okay with the health. I'm talking about the veterans who are having injuries, PTSD and others. They need engagement. They need conversations. They need relationship. It's the only way to raise any kind of interest inside themselves to continue this life. Of course, the government and other institutions, they're important in terms of resources for providing some infrastructure, some medical service, of course, inevitably. But the key recovery is in the relationship between the veterans and the people who are next to them. And that's important, not to leave them alone with the problem. Because some of them, they don't have relatives, for example, they don't have wives or somebody. They need, in this case, somebody from the units, from the comrades in arms. They need somebody who can knock the door, step in, and to start talking to them. We have so many veterans which are not reachable in the small villages and small cities. There are not a lot of government organization. That's why we have to find a way how to reach them, how to present them the options of the next step in their life. And we learned a lot from treatment of amputees and heavy wounded soldiers. I still remember 2015 when I arrived here in the US as defense attaché. The second day I visited Walter Reed Medical Center with guys who arrived from Ukraine with lost limbs and other heavy injuries. In 6 months, they were treated there and were ready back with prosthetics to Ukraine. And we had a second conversation with them. What are you going to do next? And there were no clear answer. They didn't know what to do next. They only see challenges and problems ahead of them. And that's why we contacted the veterans, US veterans here, American veterans here organization. And there was advice to try to use physical efforts, sport, for this kind of people. And 2016, the Marine Corps Marathon accepted the first group of these guys from Walter Reed. But before sending them to this event, I had a conversation with all of them about the idea of running 10K as a part of the Marine Corps Marathon. And the reaction was very mixed. Most of them, they say, you are just madman. We have no legs, we just have prosthetics, we don't know how to walk. And you're talking about how to run. Only one of them who lost all his limbs, Vadim Sviridenko, he was immediate with the answer, I am ready. Others, they need to be encouraged. But all of them, after finishing 10K race in 2016, become active members of civil society back in Ukraine. They married, they got the higher education, they started businesses, and most important, they become an example for other guys that is possible to have a bright life, even with prosthetics, sometimes more bright than for people with no problem with the health. Thank you.
Many mobilized troops face uncertain demobilization dates, creating psychological strain and planning chaos. Should Ukraine legislate a predictable transition window, for instance, 6 to 12 months of a structured preparation pre- and post-discharge? And how can that be resourced under wartime condition? Anybody would like to? A few words.
Yes, that's a difficult one, especially when you see Ukraine who are fighting for their lives currently, and every person who's in here understands the struggle that Ukraine are under currently. And manpower, resource is always the number one issue. You know, the men and women who are at the front line need rotation, need time, separation from the struggles they have there, and obviously coming back home, trying to, reduce their cognitive load, trying to embrace their families, and trying to forget some of the struggles. It's hard when you're in a constant war. I mean, the last time America, United Kingdom were in this situation was in the World War II. And again, the people who are in the front line were there constantly, back and forth. The issues you've got to have is the struggle on mental health, their physical and mental ability to go back after, multiple deployments to the front line. I would say in this instance, legislation needs to figure in a way that those individuals can have time back with their families to relax, get time to understand their purpose, their direction, and then obviously volunteering to go forward again is the number one thing that a nation needs to win a war like this. Ukraine, with over 40 million people fighting a country with 180 million plus, that's a big, big issue that these amazing men and women have every day, that they're going back and volunteering to fight for what is a wonderful and great nation. So to your question, I think it's the hardest thing ever for our political leaders and the Ukraine leaders to put them under such a situation. But going back to the General's point, if we support our veteran community, give them purpose, direction when they come back, welcome them back into the community, give them roles and responsibilities, you will see the people and the population rise up and say, we will volunteer and we are ready to fight for our great nation.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Thank you. Would you like to add, Mr. Marquez?
I want to add two quick points. First of all, wonderful answer, completely agree. The problem with a 6 to 12 month system is that works well when you have a predictable discharge date or end of service date where you can transition and try to plan from that to execute your personal transition plan. With a country that's in a complete full-scale war, you don't know when your transition date is. It could be tomorrow, it could be 6 months from now, it could be 3 years from now. And so that prevents a little bit of the planning, especially if you don't have access to internet systems and other types of services that make sense for you to begin your transition plan. One of the things that we are proposing with the U.S. Transition Assistance is we're incorporating or proposing to incorporate a new application that would allow service members to begin their own self-selected, self-interested topics transition plan up to 2 years out that they could do anywhere they are in the world on their devices, on their phones, so that they can start doing the things that are of interest to them and will help them prepare and have a more focused plan should they choose to do something like that. We are also proposing that not all of the transition be forced upon them during their time in service. Some of those courses should be able to be taken during their time when they're already a veteran and even after they've already become a veteran. And so we're exploring these with Congress, with other veteran service organizations. And if you have any ideas, gentlemen, ma'am, any of you, we'd love to have the conversation about what those topics could be. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And here's a question for Dana. The study highlights high-risk groups, youth with no civilian experience, ex-PWs, and veterans with health and addiction challenges. What tailored reintegration pathways could better serve these groups, and how can NGOs and local community expand their role? Christina.
Thank you, Tanya. Yeah, for us, at Mountain Seed, we truly believe that it starts in the family unit, right? Veterans come home and nothing feels the same, right? The kids don't know their dad. The woman is sometimes afraid of her husband and what will happen and tiptoeing around the house, and nothing feels comfortable for a veteran, man or woman who has returned home, and all they want to do is go back and fight, because that's the most meaning and purpose that they've felt, especially as the war rages on. So our program is a week-long, family-focused program where everybody has group sessions with people in similar situations. And I think there's a power in a community of people who understand what you've been through. You can be vulnerable and share with them. We find that a lot of people go back to their communities and do not feel like they can talk about their experiences in the war. Women can't complain in their friend groups of issues because they need to be grateful that their husband is alive and home. Children just don't understand largely how to be, and so we see that they kind of hide within themselves. And so our program focuses on what's strong within each individual and their family, and we cultivate that, because in a week you cannot do traditional therapy. I'm a big proponent of traditional therapy, and I think it has a big place in reintegration. But when you're dealing with an ongoing war and ongoing uncertainty, it is a tricky thing, because that takes a long time to process and heal. We use positive psychology, cognitive behavioral therapy to sort of rewire the way families connect. They look at problems, they look at situations, and we give them tools that help even in an ongoing war situation as they confront additional traumas that they will face. So I think NGOs can fill this space here by helping families reconnect and understand how to move forward even in the uncertainties of the war, not knowing when it's going to be over, not knowing when school is going to start again. Because if your family is broken down, then everything feels broken down, right? You go home to nothing, and then what do you have to live for? And so we know in the US that suicide is a huge issue, and our goal is to try to address the family breakdown. War is going to take everything, but we can protect our family and not let it take that from us by encouraging and giving people the tools to stay together. And community groups and support groups, we bring people from the same communities to climb together, because there is a power in experiences where you're kind of put in a situation where you might be anxious or fearful, and then you overcome it and you immediately have a growth moment. And they go home, our families, with a challenge to add someone else to their rope. So, because we find our veterans heal just as much as our participants, because the service to others is what drives most military personnel. And they understand and find a purpose within a service to their communities at home in different ways, right? They can be mentors, they can start a support group, they can do little things every day, invite their neighbors to dinner, simple little things to build some meaning and purpose back into their life that doesn't involve fighting on the front.
Thank you so much, Dana. Thank you. Moving on to the next question about employment and economic reintegration. As we know that in the United States, their priority is to hire U.S. veterans here, and we would like to ask Mario about this, about employment mismatch is one of the top barriers to successful reintegration. How can Ukraine better align veteran reintegration and labor market policy, transitioning military skills into sustainable civilian careers? What would be the best approach?
Yeah, thank you. So one of the things we are doing, and we've been doing it for several years now, is aligning military skill sets, translating those skills into equal civilian side professions, so that we can transition veterans straight into the workforce with as little time as possible between their military service and their new job in their new lives. A lot of that involves certification and implementing systems in the military that properly evaluate civilian professions in the right manner, so that the transition could be made as seamless and easy as possible. The less amount of time that there is between a veteran's time in the military and that paycheck, and receiving a paycheck and a profession, a new skill and forward outlook, as the general was mentioning, for their future life, it better facilitates them to land strong on both feet, have a little bit of pride, they have a profession, they have something to look forward to. It strengthens their mental health, it strengthens their sense of purpose, and it also fights a very bad image that I think that exists today for some veterans, and that is what I call the broken veteran narrative. There's this idea that veterans come out of the military completely broken, incapable, not able to implement and integrate into society and become responsible, contributing members of that society. And so the better that we transition their military skills, education, and other opportunities to include into fellowships and other opportunities with companies and corporate entities, the better opportunity that more of our veteran community will seamlessly transition and have a really good transition, which results into a better image of the military. That nation's taking care of veterans, but so is the local community, and I think it's just all around better for that veteran. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to add to that, when my time in Ukraine, the general hosted me, and we were doing the Kyiv Marathon at the time with some wounded warriors. But what was really amazing and fascinating for me was to go to a local pizzeria which was run by a veteran community, veteran family, and that was amazing because it showed purpose, it showed community, it showed that veterans aren't going to be left out, can do things on their own and show their value back in the community. And Kyiv embraced that. And if we as a nation in Ukraine and anywhere in the US, UK, can get behind the veteran community and give them a hand, and that's a big poke to big industry to say to them, look, you know, give them a helping hand, give them funding initiatives to do so, because the more veterans we get in the community working again, the better, because they're motivated, they're going to be on time, they're always going to be ready to go. What I've seen in Ukraine, you know, when you've got a nation at war, you know, we've seen this in World War II, you can have the next best generation or you can have the most entitled. You know, we in the US and other Western countries are going to struggle with that. Whereas Ukraine, you're going to have the next best generation because you're fighting for your lives. But if you don't get behind the veteran community, the wounded community, the families, the children who are suffering because their families and their loved ones are at the front line, then you're going to have problems. So I totally concur what you said as well.
I apologize. I'm going to add one last thing. I completely forgot this. One of the efforts that I believe will benefit Ukraine directly, and I've already seen the country start this effort, is integrating and pushing for veteran-owned business and disabled veteran-owned business back into the Veterans Affairs and defense systems, back into the defense industrial base, prioritizing hiring and giving contracts to those veteran-owned businesses, because not only will it help them continue to contribute after their service, they will feel like they're giving back to their country even while the country is still at war. And those are efforts that we are doing here in the United States, but I know that Ukraine is implementing and working on, and I look forward to hopefully participating in some of that collaboration and exchange of information. Thank you.
And let's talk finally about reintegration. It's not only a system, it's also about dignity. How can Ukraine embody fairness, continuity, and empathy, turning the act of return into a moment of renewal rather than isolation? Of course, we're again talking about the stigmatization. Would you like to say a few words, General?
As I mentioned, veterans, they are the same people as everybody in the society in terms of their dreams, about their ambitions and others. The only problem they have of this impact of stress during the war, with maybe injuries, maybe with PTSD. But in the Ukrainian case, we are very specific because, as I mentioned, almost everybody was touched by this war. And everybody in Ukraine understands that any war, any conflict, it's not about the business of military. It's a challenge and a real problem for everybody. It means the nation should be ready for any kind of war. And not to delegate this task of defending the country only to the military. It means everybody have to understand their role in this. In this environment, if everybody knows what he's going to do during the crisis together with military, in this environment, in these ecosystems, it's much easier to integrate any wounded, injured, or PTSD guys back to the society, because everybody is a member of society, even those who have never been in the front line. So you're one big family as a nation, ready to fight in case of crisis. That's important to have that kind of atmosphere and understanding among the people in the country. If you are very serious about defending your values and freedoms, you have to do it together. It means, and there are a lot of discussions now, not only in Ukraine, but also in the United States and in Europe especially, about conscription system coming back to life, because many countries, they rid off of conscription and started to rely upon professional military. But this war once again demonstrated that all professionals are killed during the first year of the war. It means somebody have to continue that. And if you don't have basic training, it means you have to pay a lot for this relaxed attitude to the military service. So there is a discussion about that, but it's one of the instruments we have to keep in mind. Of course, integration of people back to the society, including the businesses, is a very personal thing. Everybody has his personal story, personal natural problems, and so there is no golden solution for everybody. So you have to engage everybody on with a specific plan. Of course, there should be a program of reintegration, step by step, 12 months or maybe more. In Ukraine, as I agree with the general, we are at war, so we are not have the privilege about talking 1 year or 2 years. Our veterans, wounded veterans who lost the ability to fight, they're back to defense industry now or somewhere to the industry. There are no problems with the jobs in Ukraine. There is a problem with the people to fill their job. That's why I visited a lot of companies, small and medium companies, who are working to support Ukrainian military. And many veterans are there who were at the front, who know a lot about the war. They contribute with the knowledge, with the advice to the initiative, innovations of this industry. And that is a cycle of the war. After the war, of course, we will see a lot of veterans coming back to the peace life. But once again, specific of Ukraine, when the invasion started, we announced mobilization, and we had no problem with the people who were ready to join the military in 22. We started to have problems maybe later. But at the time, a lot of engineers, IT guys, very high professionals from medicine or other branches, they joined the military. And they know what to do after the war, to continue the businesses, to continue the professions. It's not a problem about dead people. It's a problem about those who got injuries, PTSD, and they need a special attitude. And there we have to pay with empathy, with resources, with understanding, and with encouragements of others to support this kind of people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, General. Yes, please. Mm-hmm.
I just want to add that, or expand maybe on something the General said, because what we see a lot of is people who come having been injured, have amputees, and they tell us we can't climb. We're just here for our family so that they can do something and my kids can have fun, you know. And our guides, our mountain guides, have already planned to get everybody climbing, and they end up climbing. We don't force anyone to climb, but they end up choosing to climb throughout the week. It's like a little unit again that they're in that encourages each other. And we had one amputee this past summer, Artem, who has a very high leg amputee. His hip is shattered, so he can never get a prosthetic. And he said, "I'm a disabled man. I cannot climb." And at the end of the week, after climbing every day, literally every route that we put in front of him, he stood up in front of the entire group and he said, "I am no longer a disabled man. I am just a man." And I think the dignity piece, I think the piece about your dignity is important, because too often veterans who struggle with PTSD or a physical injury immediately self-identify as someone who can't insert whatever it is. And so if we can address as a community, as an international community, as a Ukrainian government can intervene very quickly with services that help change that mindset and show them that they can do hard things, that they can contribute, then the nation will be much stronger moving forward.
Thank you so much, Dana. And another question about international adaptation and best practices goes to Mr. Taylor. Knowing that you're familiar with reintegration of both countries in the UK and in the United States, what do you think, what aspects of international best practices should Ukraine integrate into their own framework, and where must it innovate independently?
Again, a great question. I've got two things I'd like to cover down on that. One, The first one, initiatives that are happening already in Ukraine, and the General's team with the veteran community and their VA, by setting up challenge-based events like we've done with the Warrior Yomp, the Cateran Yomp in Scotland. They've set up the Carpathian Yomp, which was a great success this year. But getting the community to come out, support the veterans, walk with veterans, understand their struggles, communicate, and that's the word which everyone needs to understand, is communication is the only way we can solve a lot of these problems. When you go inward, either as a nation or as an individual, you will fail. And things like the Yomp and the Carpathian Yomp, if you've got some wounded warriors and community, families, individuals who are just there to support and walk with the wounded, you know, after a few miles and you don't want to talk, when you're getting into 5 or 6 miles, you've got nothing else but to talk. And by the end of it, you're trying to shut them up. Please be quiet. You know, that's the success, because you're bringing people out their shells. What we don't want is individuals and wounded warriors and even active duty or veterans going into their isolation, going into their basements and struggling and looking for that way out. The best way out is to come out and communicate. So that's the first one, and that is a massive success for Ukraine to do that. Doing a Yomp in a war is amazing. Have hundreds of people to come out to support their community is amazing. But that needs to be pushed up at the national level. And by doing that, you know, setting up a VA in this instance, a veteran organization that supports this community. And it's not just the combat veterans. We're talking about families, the children, the communities, setting up things like the Legion, the American Legion. The Ukraine Legion would be a great initiative. Veterans of foreign wars, a great initiative in their home nation. That's something that, you know, during this conflict and this war, they can start building that framework ready for when the war ends. Because when it does end, then you've got to have things to move into and get this veteran community, which we're not talking about 100,000, a million, we're talking tens of millions who have served their country and will be looking for support.
Thank you so much. Would anyone, please, Volodymyr?
I would like to add, because I would like to pay great gratitude to Stuart team, because they are really representing international approach to the veterans issue. So they bring together veterans from different countries in one place with one challenge. So they have lived together in one barracks. They can communicate even without language with some way, and they have start together in one point and suffer for next 50 miles. Well, in this environment, sooner or later you have some kind of mental recovery, because and it's very important to have engagement of veterans from different countries in joint events, because it's an opportunity to share experience, to talk to the people who understand what it's all about, to share the problems. And the next step, and we are talking about that now, how to bring families to these events. Many veterans, they are asking how he can take his wife or his children to this event to other countries. And we understand how important it is to them. It's only about the resources. So now all these activities are done from fundraising. And so we have sufficient resources to send wounded warriors personally, but we have to double the fundraising to take their wives and relatives next to them, not only watching them, but running with them or walking with them. And it will contribute twice even more to the recovery of the family. So I think it's the next step we should explore together with American and British veterans. Thank you.
Thank you so much, General. Thank you so much. I would like to address all of Summit participants and to tell you that we will be sending a Google form in a document sharing all the organization's information. So please be so kind to reach out if you're interested in supporting any of these great missions. So at the end, we have just a little time for a question from our audience. Anybody would like to, please?
I'm U.S. Army veteran. And American military, we have strong bonds program like for family, not only veterans, but for military people who is in front line, people who in trains, for everyone. The Ukrainian military has program like that, or you planning in the future make something like that? I went through that program here, and it's very helpful because one of you, I don't remember who, mentioned some of people has PSTD. I think everyone who live in Ukraine has PSTD, just different levels. Doesn't matter if they're in military or they're civilian. Military family has PSTD also. Do Ukrainian military or you guys working together and program like that?
In Ukraine, we have a law related to the military and veterans. So there are a lot of privileges in civil life for them in terms of some less payment for services or some employment things. So we have the donation system for veterans. So they receive some donations every month from the government to cover the expenses on home-related services. So it's okay with law. The problem was the money. Just to support these law requirements, you have to have a budget to do that in the right way. So sometimes your ambitions to make everybody happy don't match your economy in your budget. That is the challenge. And during the war especially, because all our money now they're coming to support military on the front. And that's why we have the same privileges paid, but no rising in term because of inflation. So it's not much the inflation side. And everybody understands that, and of course we hope that after the war, with more resources available for that kind of activities, we will be more effective. But from a law point of view and regulations in Ukraine, we are okay.
Thank you. Dana, maybe you can share your experience also working with families, because as excuse me, what's your name? As Lesia asked, that coming back home, Ukrainian veterans, they also meet the same family with PTSD, with some mental trauma. So probably you have some tools, advice, how you work with that.
Yeah, I was going to say the big Ministry of Defense, right, is also focused on prosecuting the war. So but the military hubs in each of the cities are really working hard to organize resources for families because they recognize this problem. The veterans do ask, that's their first stop, right, when they go home. Their military hub, that's the closest to where they live. And these hubs are sometimes a very small building, or they're in Kyiv, obviously a very much larger resource. But there are many NGOs working that focus on the families and a program for the families to reconnect, whether it's a week in the Transcarpathian Mountains to hike and just breathe, or programs like ours, which are very intense and can combine therapy. But I think the issue for families is they don't know about all the resources that are available for them. So the military hubs are starting to, and in a really difficult environment, I think doing a great job of organizing the resources in one platform where veterans can go home, find the resources there, sort of see, okay, mental health, family programs, and that will include all of NGOs that are working for families. So they'll have sort of a menu of potential options. We work directly with the military hubs to find our families, because there's a bit of a criteria for our program with the climbing. But I know that there are many NGOs that focus on the families, and I think this is an issue of knowing what's available. So the military hubs, I think, could use a really, like the Kyiv military hubs structure is really phenomenal, where it's online. It's really bringing together all the information in a one-stop shop for veterans and their families, and that's probably the best model to replicate throughout the country.
So, thank you so much, Dana. And would you like to add something?
Just one thing. Last year I worked with Tanya to pull Ukrainian veterans off the front line, live combat veterans, and we paired them with U.S. military combat veterans via Zoom or FaceTime, and we did live peer-to-peer counseling just off the front lines with hardcore American veterans, with hardcore Ukrainian veterans, and it was very rewarding for both sides. One, the American veterans were able to give back and teach from their experiences, and it facilitated getting the Ukrainian veterans back in the right mindset, back onto the front lines, service members, not veterans, and just get them a little bit of peace and stability. What I can offer is I'm willing to do the same thing for Ukrainian families and match them with U.S. military veteran combat family members who are willing to speak to Ukrainian families and exchange ideas and have a discussion about how they dealt with the issues. So that's an offer, and we're absolutely willing to offer that up, no charge. Thank you.
I think we can take one more question. Yeah.
I've been paying very close attention to the veteran community in Ukraine. I myself am a military veteran. There's always a tug of war between offering benefits and free benefits in a society to veterans and vice, or instead building independence for the veterans so that they can reintegrate into society, stand on their feet with dignity, and build resilience. A lot of us in the Ukrainian American community keep on discussing, well, we're rebuilding Ukraine, rebuild Ukraine, and this idea that it might end soon. If it doesn't end soon, we have to build resilience and independence and have the veteran community be able to stand, because God forbid they might have to go back and fight. So if you could comment on that and you know, dependence versus independence and building that resiliency in the veteran community. Thank you.
It is a very good question, because any benefits, any privileges, they spoil people. If you pay them, they become relaxed. They are not fighting to survive. So there is no golden solution in that. From one side, you have to support them. From other side, you have to understand how much you have not to have the problem with that. And there is a discussion in Ukraine now, I agree with that, about the place and role of the benefits, instead of just encouraging veterans to be equal members of the marketplace, to fight for the place as others, to be equal in everything. It's not easy maybe for some of them, but it would be similar like running marathon and to be in the end the strongest one. But that even with the problems with PTSD and something, if you succeed on the equal with others in the peacetime, you are much stronger, because you have a problem of this physical injury, but you succeeded with something. So this is a philosophical discussion about the paying benefits instead of just giving people to become stronger and just overcoming the problem. I personally think that benefits are not good in terms of the end of the story. I don't remember any successful story where benefits supported the recovery of the person in the end. I mentioned these guys who were in the Walter Reed hospital in 2016 with no legs, only amputees. I know that they become strong in their life with the business, with all other things, not because of the benefits, but because of the internal spirit and desire to change their life. And that is important to keep in people in Ukraine, that you have to be strong. If we are next to you, are ready to support you to be strong. But you never will be strong with the money in your pocket. You only can be strong with your brain in the right place, with your people next to you, with your family next to you. In this case, you are invincible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, General, for your wisdom and for your leadership. It's so important. And speaking of leaders, I just want to touch point on this. And I know all these wonderful panelists are leaders, and I'm truly grateful for your wisdom and insights today. I also would like to add that among veterans that I've met personally, I did see very strong leaders. One of them is Alexander Darmoros. He's a military psychologist, and he lost his eyesight, and he lost his leg and arm. And he came here for recovery to the United States to get a surgery on his eyesight. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but I didn't stop him. He opened his YouTube channel and have motivational videos about how to succeed being a wounded warrior. He also was one of our veterans who participated in our English language program, and he studied English with us for the entire year. And he was just there, the first one there to join us. We created a special program for him where he could hear audio dialogues and things, and he's speaking amazing. His name is Alexander Darmoros. Check him on YouTube. And I would just say that these leadership amongst veterans are so important, and this is why we bring, in People of Ukraine Foundation, we bring veterans here for exchange programs. And upcoming year, we're planning to have another US-Ukraine veteran entrepreneur exchange, also psychologist exchanges and others, where you have those leader veterans uplifting the other veterans and helping one another. So anyway, I once again would like to thank our dear panelists for your wisdom, for your insights, for your leadership. Thank you so much. Let's give them a round of applause.